the United Nations General Assembly and its damn near entirety walked out before the Netanyahu General Assembly address. Before the address started, he ordered the IDF to bring in a bunch of PAs into the Gaza Strip so that I guess the Palestinians could hear his wonderful speech. There were reports of the Israeli government intercepting the phones of Palestinians and blasting his speech as well. I can't confirm that one. I don't know, but I can confirm that at least the Palestinians that I talked to in Gaza did not hear the speech at all. For the record, Jerusalem, in unprecedented operation, Israeli army takes over mobile phones in Gaza residents to carry Netanyahu's UN speech live. In an unprecedented action, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, in a live broadcast from the UN building in New York, has announced that the IDF took control over the telephones in Gaza residents and Hamas members, and that his speech is now being broadcast live via their telephones. The Prime Minister appealed to the residents of Gaza and made it clear that the war could end immediately upon the return of the hostages, the disarming of Hamas, and the demilitarization of the Strip. We still act as though this is not a concentration camp that Israel has complete control over, by the way. So stupid. So unimaginably stupid. They didn't take them over. They sent an SMS to tune into him with a URL. Oh, okay. Regardless, the fact that they have the phone numbers of every single person with a phone, cartoonishly evil. Despite the loudspeaker operation, so far residents in Gaza complain in Telegram groups that they hear nothing from Netanyahu's speech, which is supposed to be broadcast on loudspeakers deployed by the IDF. This was really funny. And I did check with people in Gaza, and they also confirmed to me that they could not hear the speech. So their ears were spared. Yet another spectacular L for the Israeli occupational force. Yet another spectacular L for the diaper brigades, piss reel, whatever you want to call it. Now, the speech is long, it's convoluted, and it's more so about flexing, okay? I hope they show a crowd shot. That's what I want to show from the speech first and foremost.
Please, order in the hall. Please, order in the hall. Please, order in the hall.
Cucks.
Please, order.
Danny Danon, please clap. What are you doing? You are Hamas. You are Hamas. All of you. You are all Hamas. I am Danny Danon. Why are you leaving? No politic here. No politic. Israel number one. Israel number one. Anti-Semitism. It's like upvoting your own YouTube comment. Yeah, true. True. There are people who love Israel. I love Israel. Danny Danon. Do not walk away.
In the hall.
You are walking away anti-Semitically. You are all Hamas. Someone pointed this out, but it's wild that there's traffic walking out. That's how many people are walking out, that they're like bumping into one another. Oh, man. Now, of course, this is still symbolism, but it is consequential. It is meaningful. Even if it's like the conditional state recognition is still consequential, is still meaningful. These things take time. Remember, I understand why people are frustrated. Just remember, if you're frustrated, that means that our job is not over. Okay? You just got to keep pushing. You just got to keep bringing more allies to the cause. More people to the forefront, more people to engage in direct action, more people to mobilize. It is what it is. That's why I always say, whenever I see new polls that come out where people are like 56% of Americans think Israel is committing a genocide, 60% of Americans don't like Israel, stuff like that, I'm like, it's not enough. Okay? It's not enough. We got to get those numbers up. Those are rookie numbers. It is a real shame that Americans are still asleep.
Please order in the hall and please be seated.
Why didn't the UN arrest him? Because the UN has no power. Okay. He's in the United States of America. He's in New York and he's Trump's daddy. So that's not happening. Okay. It's like asking, why did the UN not arrest Donald Trump? By the way, they brought in hype men in anticipation for this. The General Assembly Hall is mostly empty as Netanyahu speaks, with many delegations having walked out. But the audience gallery above the hall, where member states can bring guests, is full, suggesting Israel brought a cheering squad as it did last year to compensate for the empty hall. Oh, I would say this is a shameful experience for Israel, but I don't think they have the capacity to feel shame. Because honestly, if you're a genocidaire, like you've already lost your own personal humanity in the process and also the capacity to feel shame. They are literally view-botting, bro. They're view-botting IRL. Who the does that? It is the most pathetic thing. We are loved. We are still loved. Everyone loves Israel. During Netanyahu's speech at the UN, Israeli platforms started reporting that wounded occupation soldiers were being transferred to the Beilinson hospital via helicopter following a security incident in Gaza. The Quds translation says platforms for settlers say the helicopters of the occupation army are transporting injured soldiers from Gaza, coinciding with Netanyahu's speech. The IDF has identified significant progress in the capabilities of the Houthis, including in the developments of the factories underground. This is another interesting development for the record. In remote areas and as secret projects for the benefit of self-production of missiles and drones in Yemen using Iranian knowledge. Not only Iranian knowledge, real ball knowers know, that is also DPRK knowledge. DPRK knowledge of tunnel systems were handed off to the Iranian government, which is now using that same knowledge for the Ansar Allah movement in Yemen. Efforts to reach a security pact between Syria and Israel have hit a last-minute snag over Israel's demands that it be allowed to open a humanitarian corridor to Syria's southern province of Suwaida. Four sources familiar with the talk said to Reuters. And despite the loudspeaker operation so far, residents in Gaza complain in Telegram groups that they hear nothing from Netanyahu's speech, which is supposed to be broadcast on loudspeakers deployed by the IDF. Barry says, I've been following all of Netanyahu's speeches in international forums for 2 decades. I don't recall a worse and more failed speech than this, even in terms of his stuttering and lack of fluency in delivery. This is from Channel 12. He brought a bunch of the idiotic and racist placards, as you are familiar with. Also, in preparation for his speech at the UN, the Prime Minister's office launched an unprecedented propaganda campaign in New York, before I forget to mention that as well, with dozens of billboards and trucks around the UN building and in Times Square, bearing the message, remember October 7. That was their big push. That was their big push. They were like, remember October 7, October 7. They had the trucks lining up all over New York City being like, remember October 7, remember October 7, which I don't think people are going to be thinking about that right now. So they were view-botting with the trucks as well. Yeah, he brought back the curse, showing all of the enemies of Israel. So far, Netanyahu has listed everyone they have killed in the last 2 years, and now he's praising Trump for bombing Iran. UNSC sanctions on Iran must be snapped back. What I ask you to do, hold up your phone, zoom in, and you will too see why we win and why we must win. Of course, he had a QR code on that little button that he had. Well, not little, that large ass button that he wore, which I guess would beam you propaganda directly to your phone. Do not scan that, by the way. I do not want whatever kind of insane phishing operation Israel is doing with that. I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole, and I don't suggest you do either. Netanyahu is now speaking directly to the prisoners of war via the loudspeakers that he set up around Gaza. Nothing interesting, just a PR stunt. Netanyahu is now quizzing the General Assembly. Who shouts death to America? Iran, Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, all of the above. An idiot. So stupid. So desperate. Anyway, and then he turns around and says, who has murdered Americans and Europeans in cold blood? Al-Qaeda, Hamas, Hezbollah, Iran, all of the above. Ironic, because he could ask that question and put Israel in there as well. And Israel would also be a part of the all of the above, for the record. I'm noticing a lack of ISIS in here. What's the reason for that, I wonder? Much to consider. Anyway, I'm sorry to say here, yet over time, many world leaders buckled. They buckled under the pressure of a biased media, radical Islamists, and anti-Semitic mobs. When the going got tough, you caved. And he just was complaining about how world leaders are caving to the principle of democracy that they must maintain because they're populations are obviously screaming bloody murder at Israel's bloody murder. He says, you condemn us, you embargo us, and you wage lawfare against us. This is not an indictment of Israel. It's an indictment of you. And I do think it's an indictment of everyone around the globe. As Greta Thunberg said yesterday, Greta Thunberg said she's not afraid of Israel. She's afraid of a world that turns a blind eye to the atrocities that Israel is committing.
I'm not scared of Israel. I'm scared of a world that has seemingly lost all sense of humanity. And what we are doing here is trying to show that there is still some humanity left, that there are still people willing to step up when all other means fail.
To Israel, rather, and a mortal threat to the civilized world.
Yeah, classic speech. We're not fighting for us. We're not fighting for an exterminationist principle here. We're fighting to preserve Western supremacy. We're fighting to defend the world from the scary forces of evil, Islam. That's what it is. We're fighting Islam. It's all of yours. This war is a war for all of you. Anyway, Zionism Observer reports, let's talk about the new Israeli atrocity porn website. They promoted their new gore picture website at Netanyahu's UN speech with a large button that has a QR code on it. The code was also promoted on rented trucks driving around New York City. The QR code directs the visitor to Saturday7October.com. Remove the space before .com to make the URL functional. The domain itself was purchased by GoDaddy from GoDaddy less than 2 weeks after October 7. Classic. The website was delivered to me using a VPN set from New York City from a data center just northeast of Wichita, Kansas, USA. This is a Cloudflare data center, but I believe the site itself is hosted on Google Cloud. The technology powering the website isn't interesting. There is a little bit of tracking software, but not more than most other websites. The website itself is just atrocity porn, photos and videos of mutilated bodies. They have a page entitled Massacre of Soldiers for some reason. When I set my VPN to Israel, the page refused to load. Under the hood site returned a 403 forbidden response code. Don't visit it. It's very sus. I'm not touching that. Like I said, don't go there. Don't do it. This atrocity porn website seems to be just another example of the current state of Zionist propaganda flailing. Because remember, and this is very important to understand, Israel has done post-October 7 is a million times worse than October 7. And therefore, them consistently going back to October 7 to be like, this is why we're doing it, this is why we're doing it, is not going to work. The reason why it's not going to work is because for the past 2 years, we have seen you do on October 7 on the Palestinian population every day, much worse than October 7, as a matter of fact, destroying literally all functioning forms of government, killing children, slaughtering women, blowing up every hospital. Like, what are you talking about, October 7? What the do you mean October 7? This is not going to work. Of course it's not going to work. Stop the genocide. Stop the Holocaust. It's fucking over.
A dark cloud that could have claimed millions and millions of lives.
There was a funny moment too.
But,
there was a couple funny moments where there's a moment where he demands that people laugh at his joke, which obviously doesn't work.
Last month, even the UN, not exactly a supporter of Israel. You're supposed to laugh, by the way.
And then there's another moment where he's talking about Palestinians celebrating October 7, dancing on rooftops, which I feel like is a flex, right?
We must remain absolutely clear-minded and vigilant. We must not allow Iran to rebuild its military nuclear capacities. Iran's stockpiles of enriched...
Shut the up.
And the bold decisions we took, Israel rebounded from its darkest day to deliver one of the most stunning military comebacks in history.
That's all the peanut gallery that they brought in for claps.
We're not done yet. The final remnants of Hamas are holed up in Gaza City.
By the way, his own authorities, his own military authorities have actually directly contradicted this idiotic narrative that they haven't even been able to put a dent in the Hamas militancy. The Palestinian resistance has actually gone back to its initial numbers pre-October 7 in the process of this genocide, because understandably more and more people have taken up arms against Israel. So they failed spectacularly on every front. So unimaginably cooked. Anyway, here it is, him flexing.
Half the Houthi leadership in Yemen, gone. Yahya Sinwar in Gaza.
Yahya Sinwar in Gaza. Yahya.
Gone. Hassan Nasrallah in Lebanon. Gone. The Assad regime in Syria. Gone. Those militias in Iraq, well, they're still deterred. And their leaders, if they attack Israel, will also be gone. And for Iran's top military commanders and its top atomic bomb scientists, well, they're gone too.
There was that. Oh, here it is. This is where he says Palestinians celebrated the October 7 attacks.
This week, the leaders of France, Britain, Australia, Canada, and other countries unconditionally recognized a Palestinian state. They did so after the horrors committed by Hamas on October 7th. Horrors praised on that day by nearly 90% of the Palestinian population. Now, let me say that again. Nearly 90% of Palestinians supported the attack on...
Where is this number coming from? And by the way, I wonder why. I know he just pulled that out of his ass. I'm sure plenty of people did. I wonder why. Really strange. I thought that these guys loved Israel and they hated Hamas. I wonder why they seemingly don't love Israel. BB saying they danced on the rooftops regarding Palestinian response to October 7. You are playing with fire, sir. I said, this is like when Saudi Arabia threatened to do 9/11 again. That's him dabbing on us, I think. That's what it feels like to me when he's talking about people dancing on 9/11.
October 7th. It's not supported only. They celebrated it. They danced on the rooftops. They threw candies. That's both in Gaza and in Judea, Samaria, the West Bank, as you call it. And it's just the way they celebrated another horror, 9/11. They danced on the rooftops.
See, that's a flex. I don't know if that's him tweaking the algo for dancing 9/11 Israel. So when you Google it, this comes up. But that's a crazy callback for him to do. It comes across like he's flexing.
They cheered. They threw candy. You know what message the leaders who recognize the Palestinian state this week sent to the Palestinians? It's a very clear message. Murdering Jews pays off. Well, I have a message for these leaders. When the most savage terrorists on earth...
This is just a recognition of L's, in my opinion. By the way, when he says the Palestinians were dancing on the rooftops on 9/11, that's a idiotic statement twofold, because the majority of the Palestinian population living in Gaza was not alive during 9/11. Gaza is a very young population. The majority of the Palestinian population living in Gaza before October 7 was under the age of 18. Okay, so like any kind of statement like this is so stupid. Yeah, also, given the overall sentiment against Israel right now, any invocation of the Nazis, and I said this in the beginning, I said this on like October 8, 2023, I said, if I was Israel, I would not be making ISIS comparisons and I would not be making Nazi comparisons, because before you know it, people are going to be like, Nazi comparisons. I wonder which side in this conflict, if you want to call it that, resembles the military power that the Nazis had and the carnage that they created for a captive population of civilians. So now, because he's still operating on pre-October 7 brain, he's over here easily making invocations to Nazi Germany and the Jews, not realizing that for virtually everyone with 3 acting brain cells, they hear that and go, yeah, that's you. You're the Nazi in this equation.
What, did the Nazis ask the Jews to leave, kindly leave, go out? Others? You want me to name all the genocidal leaders of history?
Do you think he actually believes what he's saying? I don't think he has a shred of sincerity in his soul. He doesn't even have a soul. Also, here's another mask off moment for those who say like, oh, not everyone in Israel is against this, like, or a lot of people hate Benjamin Netanyahu. Yeah, they might hate Benjamin Netanyahu, but they don't necessarily hate what the IDF is doing in Gaza. They know exactly what the IDF is doing in Gaza. They have access to it on the internet, and they love it. Do not act like that is not the case, please.
My opposition to a Palestinian state is not simply my policies or my government's policy. It's the policy of the state and people of the state of Israel.
So when people try to create new off-ramps, when liberal Zionists will inevitably start reading the writing on the wall and start making it seem like, oh, this is just Benjamin Netanyahu doing his thing. Please make no mistake. We don't like this. There is no universal acknowledgement here. There is no universal support here. That's a lie. Okay. The Israeli public is consistently polled on this matter. Now, they will change their attitude. They will. As I have said over and over again, international pressure works in that way. How? Because boycotts, divestments, and sanctions that are being demanded against the state of Israel ultimately will cause Israeli society to not recognize the humanity of Palestinians. Of course, that's never going to happen. However, it will make them realize that they are a pariah state and therefore reconsider their genocidal fervor. This is exactly what happened in apartheid South Africa as well. This is why every little step, no matter how symbolic or fruitless it may seem, matters. I want fast action. I want all of the international community to get together and create a coalition of the willing to offer unconditional support to every single humanitarian that seeks to rip apart the Israeli blockade and go to Gaza and to stop by force, by putting their bodies on the line, to stop Israel's genocide. I want that to happen too. But I understand in the absence of that, these little things still matter because little by little, it creates a pressure cooker for Israeli society, that there are repercussions for continuing a genocide. You will lose your treats. You will lose your regular standing. People will never look at an invocation of the nation state of Israel the same ever again. People will reconsider their stances on the matter, and it will get to a point where Israel's name is only invoked in a negative fashion. And when that happens, when you lose your Eurovision, when you lose this false notion that like the rest of the planet is perfectly fine with this genocide, when you lose all of the academic freedoms that you had, the freedom to travel freely elsewhere, however you see fit, ultimately, you will be forced to reconsider